Okay then, Helldivers, we have seen the community split into two groupings after this last major order. It seems to have sent the Reddit on overload. There is a lot going on inside of this game right now, of which majority of it isn't even the game relation. This one is an interesting one indeed, as we've got some news on exactly how the liberation percentage has been calculated, as Spitz has recently spoke out. And we're going to be talking about some things that need to change inside of the game for the major order, with one idea specifically that I definitely enjoy. With that being said, if you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. On top of that, make sure you check out our sponsor for today's video, Instant Gaming, the platform with all of your favorite games for Steam, Origin, Battle.net, Uplay, and indie games for PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, all up to 70% off. Completely digital games and instant delivery 24/7. These guys bulk buy from the developers and sell to you guys at a cheaper price. It's really that simple, so head down to the description and click on the link and thank me later. With that being said though, let's dive on into the news at hand inside of Helldivers 2. So as it stands, we're going to quickly go over what Spitz had actually said originally. We have got a cool motive movement for the high command briefs, which we've now got posting up in our Discord in the description, with over 9,000 of you guys getting involved with it. We're going to go through that right now before we go into how exactly the liberation percentage goes through. So recently, you know that we've just lost the defense operation for Drop Near, which has obviously meant that we now are not able to go into Ubania, and the percentage rate is now lowering. From that end though, people are now not going into Drop Near with only 39,000. We're going to take a look at that one in a second, but Spitz has turned around and said, dire tidings from the automaton front, Helldivers. The Ubania gambit has failed. Faced with the choice of dedicating adequate troops to hold Drop Near from a direct automaton assault, or to attempt the liberation of Ubania to serve as a new planetary base of operations, our troops opted for the latter. However, the initial hours of indecision resulted in insignificant concentration of troops to achieve their objective. Drop Near initially held a reserve force representing just under 20% of all active Helldivers, which was a solid start, but insufficient to gain an advantage over the automaton assault. As the event continued, they remained close, but could not sway enough Helldivers from other fronts to gain the numbers to actually turn the tide. As the hours grew shorter, eventually they abandoned Drop Near's defense in favor of attempting to burn down Ubania, but it was too little, too late. This has resulted in the worst possible outcome for our forces. As Drop Near fell, Ubania stood at 95% liberated and would have required another few hours to be completed. Had our forces dedicated earlier what to do, or alternatively managed to sway more of the roughly 35% of active Helldivers on the Terminid front, they today would have been a cause for celebration, but victories need to be earned in order to be meaningful. The victory has not been earned this day. Our task is to now retake Drop Near to enable FTL lines to Ubania before the automatons can shore up defenses and repopulate their losses. This setback will prove to be significant and may compromise the major order if Drop Near and Ubania are not retaken quickly. And now he goes in to state a big one right here, as he states, another significant obstacle is our operations have been the ongoing support of expeditionary forces on Malevelon Creek. Long standing as a bastion of human endurance and a symbol of our resistance against the automatons, Malevelon Creek remains locked in a stalemate with an average of 25% of our forces committed to its defense and eventual liberation. Though success of Drop Near, Ubania, and eventually Tibet seems unlikely with such a large contingent diverted elsewhere. This is a big problem. Okay, this is a big problem, because we're starting to see that we're not going to be able to complete the major order, therefore we're not going to be able to win the Galactic War on the basis of this. Now, there have been some Reddit posts which are hilarious, and reading through them, we're going to get into it in a moment, so this video might be a bit of a longer one, but nonetheless, as far as the XP ratings go, we have had clarification from Spitz on how this works. This is a pretty simple one, so we're going to brief it out for you guys, but essentially, the higher the level the more XP you obtain. The more XP you obtain, the more it'll impact the Galactic War. Essentially, with a higher XP and impact multiplier, the operations will obviously complete higher percentages of a liberation scale. Therefore, you can't just spam through on the level 1s to try and complete this, because doing a trivial is going to do absolutely nothing. This is all XP related, and it's going to be a motive push from the XP itself. So the higher the missions you complete, the more you're going to get. So going for ones of the mid-range, maybe around a 5 or even a 4 if you're looking to go that way, this is going to be your quickest and most active XP method as far as it goes. Make sure we go onto the lower level maps, 4 and 5s, maybe even 6s if you're of a higher standpoint, and completing everything on a map will push the most amount of XP as far as a percentage of liberation goes. Now, moving on from that though, before we get into the next bit, we are doing a giveaway here on the channel. We've just announced this morning the winner of the last giveaway for the copy of Helldivers 2, so massive shout out to them. Although, if you guys want to get involved in this one, it is extremely simple. To win a copy of Helldivers 2 or the money equivalent in super credits, all you have to do is go down to the comment section below and stick a star in the comments. Very simple, very easy. Doesn't matter if it's an emoji or how it is you want it to look. As long as there's a star there, make sure that gets you involved. That being said, let's dive on into the rest of the video. So there's been some toxic trait switch ups inside of the community right now that we're about to get into, although one idea that I wanted to throw past you guys first is one that I actually really like. The supply lines could be a bit of a problem when it comes to the main mappage, because there is so many. It could over swarm and make it look extremely cluttered and bloated, which is their biggest worry. Now, what about the monitor above our main stations? It states right here, the screen should show us the current war objective, not showing us ads. Now, if this did have the main war objective on it as it stands, it would have an overall status line of where it is we needed to go based on the major order at hand. Therefore, the status lines didn't need to actually be on the map itself. They wouldn't have to alter it, and the ads could play in between. If this was the static screen though that was consistently there, it would be loads more helpful. It's a lot more easier to obtain a sort of route course, and it means that you guys as Helldivers can stand and just try and plot your way forward inside of your starship's movements. Now, this is just one of those things. At the moment, we've got an empty screen which has nothing on it. You may as well utilize that to some level of a degree. That's just me stating. But which side of the table are you guys on? We're going to put a poll up in the community page of the channel today, which is going to say of whether you are utilizing the fun givers or you are going in for the major order when these games actually get utilized. Now, there is seeming to be a bit of a turning point, and there's a bit of a toxicity behind this apparently. The fan base seems to have a toxic trait to it, which is a bit of a shame apparently. It says, please do not shame people who play the game that they want to play. Now, we're going to talk about this because I have quite a solid standing, but it states here, do you want to focus on major order? Wonderful. Do you want to be 110% of the time a creeker? Perfectly fine. Do you want to do nothing but fight bugs? Guess what? That is okay as well. People should just play the game that they want. Now, there is an obviously expansion on this, and he does go into a little bit more, but I don't agree with this. I think this is a live service model game. The game works on a certain tangent. Now, yes, evidently you are able to do exactly what you want to do, which is why we're not frickin' passing major orders, and the live service model of this storyline is not actually functioning forwardly in the way that we want it to, because people are quote-unquote playing it how they want to. Know that this game does split off into different sectors, and you guys will be able to play certain things. Major orders generally take a couple of days, and then outside of those couple of days, we can essentially just say that we can do what we want to up until this point. I think this is a bit of a difficult one, mainly because the entire game is utilized as a galactic war simulator. This is a long process, and it works inside of that live service format model. As it stands, our major order is on the side of the automatons, and we currently have around 70,000 people on side of the automaton side. Now, unfortunately, the Terminids have around the same amount of people. Therefore, that makes no sense to me at all. There's not a toxic behavior in playing the game the way it is intended to be played as a basis of actually being able to make this storyline fun for players that are currently outstanding. I want to know what your guys' opinions are. Are you fun players or are you storytellers? That's what I want to know. We're going to put the community poll up later today, so make sure you stay tuned to it because it's an interesting one, to say the least. Now, one thing that backs up my statement as an overall is this Reddit post right here with over 5,500 upvotes. States, why do we care about major orders? I just saw a question on my post about the major order and it was interesting. Basically, the question was, why do you care about a handful of medals? So here's my reply. At least for me, it's not about the medals. This is the first time being this engaged with the community lore-wise where we have to act as a group to not let fall a planet. Medals in major orders, at least some, for me, are not very relevant, as medals can be won per mission. Even the amount that they are offering in some is an insult, because yes, you can get those 50 medals in a couple of matches, and to be fair, I already gather more than 50 medals in a couple of level 7 missions, but that's for me not a drive. My drive is the live game we are experiencing and how that impacts the game. We don't know how every single move will impact the intergalactic war. Basically, I'm too deep into the narrative at this point. That's why. It's not about the medals. It's the reward of succeeding as a community what drives my ambition to these major orders. Now, we are obviously got an expansion on this one as well, and all of the posts and sources are in the description as always, but I couldn't hold this one any higher up. I think this is exactly as how it should stand. The gaming community right now is in a really weird shape, and it seems to be split in different sectors, left, right, and center. Helldivers, when it first launched, obviously had a narrative which we all strove for together. This should be a push forward, not a push sideways. This for me is absolutely brilliant because we're all getting involved with each other. Like I say, we've got over 9,000 of you guys in the Discord server, all of which rally together. They join up in parties, they all play with each other, and they all discuss how we can next focus a certain objective. Now, if we can get that Discord any bigger, then hopefully we can start making some real pushes and real moves as a community here from the Cloud Nation to be able to impact these major orders a little further. Now, unfortunately, that's all we got time for today. There is some more stuff that I wanted to go through, but we'll split that off for a second video later on tonight. This was quite a long one, so if you managed to get this far into it, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. And just stick in the comment section, I was there. At least then I'll know exactly how many of you guys watched until this point, because this was a bloody long one. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. If you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe with post notifications turned on. I'll see you guys later on for another video, but until then, I'll see you in the clouds.